Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. Let me just put it on big screen. So welcome to this webinar, how to set up a multi-country sales learning program. So my name is Jose Martrat. I'm partner at ActitudPro, and with me is Laetitia, head of L&D, global L&D at UPL. So just to give you very warm welcome. I hope that everyone can listen and see us properly. So I just would like you can just confirm. Not sure whether you've got the chat open, but if not, just put it as a question, just to confirm that you can see and you can hear properly, and also you can see the presentation as well. Okay, perfect. So I'm starting to receive confirmation of people. Okay, so I see that there is a significant number of people from different areas of the world. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So during today, we are gonna discuss and present the vision of ActitudPro about how to start a multi-country sales learning program. And we have today Laetitia, which kindly accepted to be on this webinar to share their experience of implementing a multi-country sales learning program in her company. So the structure of today's presentation, just let me go through it. Well, first, just to introduce ourselves, we already did it. So the structure of today's presentation, which is going to last for 1 hour. It's going to be a short introduction about ourselves, ActitudPro. So just for those who do not know us, then we are going to present, I'm going to present our perspective about how global sales program should be run today. And then we'll have a dialogue with Laetitia about her experience from the very beginning, from the design and the conception of this global sales learning program, and to the implementation, which is where they are today. And finally, we'll book some minutes to answer any questions you might have, which you can start just writing on the question section of this webinar on the left side of your screen. So thank you very much, Laetitia, for joining today.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation. Welcome, everyone.
Okay, so let's go very quickly for those who do not know us. Who is ActitudPro? Well, ActitudPro is a sales and training consulting company founded more than 15 years ago, based in Barcelona, in Spain, and with offices in Mexico, in Brazil, and Australia. And we've got an extensive network of collaborators around the globe, which enables us to really deliver training programs in more than 25 countries. Also, the partners of ActitudPro, we are collaborators at ESADE Business School in sales management and performance subjects. So we work for many sectors. So we are a sales consulting firm which work with big brands, small brands, those you can see here in different sectors. But the common element is that we always work with sales organization of those customers. Okay, retail, telecommunications, cosmetics, service industry, public sectors. So in all kinds of sectors, we had at least some significant experience. And what we have been doing? Well, as you could imagine, as a sales consulting firm, during the last months, we have been really specialized in remote selling programs, in delivering and supporting the organization to transform in the current situation, to adapt sales organization to the COVID and to the new way of working. We have, on that sense, developed more than 200 programs in 200 companies, 25 countries, more than 2,500 sales reps trained, with an approach combined digital content and trainer facilitated programs in several languages. So let's start about the topic. So as most of you know, we are facing, or we hope that we are going to be facing, let's say, the start of the end of this bad dream we had during the last year. We are starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and here I'm using this image with a crop, with a wheat, because at the end UPL is a company on that sector, so I thought it was very, very representative. So, but before starting about talking about sales learning program, I think it's important that we talk about what have been those sales challenges and where we are going, because this, from our perspective, from ActitudPro, is what really drives any design or any thought about implementing a global sales training program. So talking about sales challenges, what are our inspirational visions? Where do we come the thoughts we are going to present today? So first is very basic. Just we are going to explain our vision working hand to hand with customers at local level, at global level, for many different cultures. But not only hand to hand, but also hands-on, getting in the details. And this is where it comes part of our thoughts that we're going to present today. The second area of inspiration is that sometimes when you are too on the details, when you're too on the operational side, on implementing those programs, you might lose some part of the vision. So it's always go and recall what we call the greatest classics of all time. So who could be on our sectors in the consulting environment, other companies, even our competitors, that could inspire us. At the end, it's a common practice to see what others are doing. So in this case, our source of inspiration is McKinsey & Company, which has been there for many years from the very beginning about on the consulting sector, inspiring and helping organizations. Is still there, and on our view, it's going to still be there for many years. So this is what we are going to explain to you based on those two different inputs, with a very important remark. So we want to bring you recent, fresh information. So information which is not older than the last 2, 3, 4 months old. Because one thing that we all have learned during this year, that everything has accelerated. So what is valid today, maybe in 6 months, is not valid anymore. In the past, when you were reading reports, gurus, views, which were 1 year, 2 years old, you could still consider us to be up to date. But nowadays, this is not valid anymore. So we need to, we really appreciate your time to being here. And what we want is to really bring you fresh information that can be useful today. Okay, so let's start by the right side. What is McKinsey saying? So the first message is the sales teams are moving to a remote selling across the globe, and customers like it. So 90% of B2B sales teams have fully or partially shifted to remote selling. 65% of those who take decisions, they consider that it's working, even before the pandemic. And this is a global trend. China and India are leading the way, but Spain and UK, they are not far behind, probably because they have been highly impacted by the virus, so they had to adapt. So when we look at about, okay, but this shift is really being effective and is here to stay. This is the key question. So what we see is that, and again, recent and fresh information from just a few months old. So if we look at the evolution of what the people consider whether the effectiveness of these new sales models, it's clearly a trend that is increasing. So the people is gaining confidence in this new way of selling. So from 54%, which considers that it's equally or more effective, to 83% just a few months ago for existing customers and for new customers. So all our companies, all our teams have been during the last year on a trial and error to create, let's say, those new habits to capture new opportunities. So at this stage where we are, let's say, at the end of the tunnel, we believe that we need to take somehow a decision whether we stay, let's say, in the old habits, or we consider this change as an opportunity. And what we want to really is to give you a view of those who have already realized those opportunities. What do they have in common for the topic we are talking today? So again, we look at another information, which again, it's very recent, just 1 month old, about what are the pillars which drive sales growth outperformance. So what do they have in common, those companies which are already capturing the opportunity, which are already experiencing growth? So there are 4 pillars. Insights, so really have the capability for the sales team to analyze data, to have the right scorecards, to make precision decisions and taking decisions, anticipating the market through the data. Second, the agility, so the capability to transform the organizations, to adapt to the new customers, to new products, to new ways of interacting, so being flexible. And talent, and how we are developing world-class talent, and of course, technology. So we want to focus, as we can see, talent is one of the key pillars. So if we dip a bit more in detail about talent and what does it mean, then we realize that what does it mean, this pillar of talent, what the companies are doing. So first, insight. So for those companies which are performing, which are growing, and the total impact of those outperforming companies about from 5 to 10% higher sales and 10 to 20% high productivity, one of the key pillars is, on a basic side, is a strong and universal sales skills. And this is very important because this means that companies believe in global sales skills set models. And the second, those which are going beyond the basics and which are really outperforming, what do they add to this talent management, talent development? Tailor coaching and continually adapted training. So let's go a bit more, again, in detail of those elements to see that the percentage of companies that tailor learning programs for their sales team are outperforming by 57%. So those companies outperforming a significant higher percentage of companies which are really tailoring the learning programs. So you've got 1.3 times more likely to be outperformed if you really tailor your learning programs of your sales team. And second, those companies which are outperforming also are companies where the sales manager, they spend more than 50% of their time in coaching. That is really important. So this is really surprising, I could imagine, for most of you, because we imagine always sales managers are being really trying to steer the sales, looking at the numbers, analyzing and chasing their sales team. But those who outperform outside of that, they book 50% of their time for coaching. So again, this is another insight that really it's very relevant for the purpose of defining and designing those training programs. Okay, so then with this, let's say, high-level view, which came again from fresh information, recent reports, different reports, in this case from McKinsey, how this is impacting on programs. And our view is that the sales learning programs should be adapted and changing as well. And here is where we are going to try to connect this, let's say, high-level view of McKinsey, which is giving directions, strategy, vision, with, let's say, our view as ActitudPro when we go down to earth from an implementation perspective, when we need to face implementing a sales training program, let's see what are the pillars that we believe that are relevant when defining a global sales learning program. So we have just organized in these 5 blocks. So first, the audience, then the content and methodologies, technology, of course, the trainers, and last but not least, a very important topic, which is the global versus the local role. So I'm going to try to go a bit in detail on each of those elements, just to highlight what is, on our view, what is relevant. If you are people working on L&D programs, either at local or thinking because you are at local receiving programs that have been designed at a global level, or because you are responsible at global level, and then you are thinking about conceptualize, design, and implement a program at global level. So the first topic about the audience. Key message. You need to involve all sales profiles, including anyone with direct interaction with customer, if possible. So what does it mean? Well, first you need to map sales role in each country. Means sales rep, key account managers, inside sales, sales promoter, all those people which have a role in your customer experience, your sales journey, needs to be involved somehow. Second, and maybe more important, and here we are connecting with one of the insights from McKinsey, sales rep and sales managers. Sales managers, if they are not involved as participants, not just as informed, as participants on the program, then we are not connecting the whole wheel. And this means that the sales managers, on our view, they would have a specific content for them, mainly for coaching, for sales leadership, so being able to set targets, these type of things. But it's very important on our view that they should take part also of the sales rep content too. Because afterwards, we consider that this is the key cornerstone to be responsible of consolidate the learning afterwards. If those sales managers, they just are informed about the program, then definitely it's going to be very difficult that we create a change, that we manage to generate a change on the habits and on the behaviors of our sales rep, which at the end is what we want. And finally, we need to keep in mind the omni-channel perspective. So as I said, anyone in contact with the client and influencers of the client in the customer journey is candidate for the training. So again, the message is really to have a broad perspective about who should be the audience for those global sales learning programs. Let's move on content. So what is the message here? Here, our recommendation will be use best-in-class sales methods, but please leverage the knowledge which you have inside of your organization at worldwide level to really customize and create your own sales style. Let me just translate what does it mean. Probably most of you are familiar with this type of words, the spin selling, the Sandler selling, the challenger selling, value selling. All these are models which they are proprietary or they have been defined by someone and they have been extended as standards or different sales methodologies. That's fine. It's good to know them. On our perspective, in the past, companies were sticking and you found sales teams which, no, I'm from the school of spin selling, or I'm from the school of Sandler selling, or from challenger selling. That's fine. But on our experience, what it works best is you choose one, or maybe a combination of different of them, okay? But you do not copycat, you do not tailor try to adapt your salespeople to the model, but just the other way around. Try to capture the best or different elements Map it to your go-to-market and your customer journey, the channels, the product, the sales, the process, the sales profile. Take what it fits for you and then create your own sales model. How? Well, on our view, it's paramount to involve sales reps, sales managers from different countries from the very beginning, at the content design and at the validation of the content created. This is what it will create. First, the credibility when you launch it to the program, to the global sales community, and also will have the value that you would have extracted, which is already inside of your organization. Okay. When we have done that, the first reaction we get from when we talk about when we are talking about global companies, and then we contact, let's say, 6, 5, or 10 countries to involve them in the design, the first thing you listen from them on these initial interviews is, well, my country is different. That's true. That's absolutely right. We need to take in consideration not only language, but culture, go-to-markets. Products might be different by countries, even if we are talking about the same company. So we need to we need to generate empathy with them. We need to listen very carefully about what they are saying and what does it mean for them. My country is different. But then when you present, okay, so normally, just to give you an example, on those discovery sessions, when we are talking about sales management in one country, imagine that we've got, let's say, 1 hour and a half session to listen and to try to extract the information and the knowledge they have inside. We leave them at least 20, 25 minutes to them just to explain why your country is different. Instead of our coming and saying, okay, this is what we want, we first listen. And then we present a proposal and we look, okay, I understood your country is different, but look at what I'm presenting, this methodology, this sales process, which I would like all the sales team in our company worldwide use it. Do you agree with them? What you will change? And in our experience, the reaction is that in 80% of the cases, the companies agree with the models because those models are enough universal. And here is where we are connecting again with the learnings from McKinsey. They said that it's important, and the companies which are outperforming are developing universal sales skills. And we have realized, whether you're talking to Japan, to Argentina, to France, to South Africa, Australia, challenges are more similar than what we think. Of course, they have something that they are different and different needs, and we need to take in consideration. And how we can do that? Well, you can define different tracks. So for the same model, then have different contexts that could be separated depending on country clusters or depending on go-to-market approach, which could be similar in different countries. And you can have optional models to adapt to each country, because maybe in some countries, you will realize that collecting debt collection, it's very important in some countries, which in others, the priority will be, let's say, opening new market and capture new clients or new distributors. So you can work with defining optional models that then the country, at the time of implementing, can select which ones are applicable to them. And last recommendation, really build as much content as possible on a practical mode with exercises which are then customizable by the country. Let's move. The third topic, technology. So here the message would be, avoid the temptation of digital-only programs due to time and scale limitations. Normally, when companies try to deploy sales program across the globe for more than dozens of countries, or 20 or 50 or 100 countries, they imagine, okay, this can only be done digital. That's the temptation. But really, sales skill requires experiential learning. So here, definitely, it's fine to have platforms. We need them. They can help, of course, but we need a trainer. We need to see a face. We need to see someone explaining something and have the possibility to interact with him. And nowadays, using those technologies that everyone is almost familiar, it's possible. So pure digital programs are affordable and fast to deploy across country, but learning impact is limited without the possibility to have an experiential learning with a professional coach, with a professional sales trainer. On our experience, the result we are going to get, the impact we are going to generate is more limited. So here we are suggesting to combine facilitator lead with digital content, commenting and creating what we call remote blended programs. Okay. And if you're using digital content, use video with a trainer looking at the audience, like in this case, you can see here. Okay. The eye contact, even if it's with a video, it's very powerful and generates stickiness on the retention of the learnings. And of course, design the content and the methodology with the technology in mind. Otherwise, we might have the best content, but if we have not thought about the delivery, we are going to have problems on it. And finally, translation. Of course, when we are talking about the content needs to be translated. So use agencies or internal teams to translate, but let the trainer review the content before launching it. Otherwise, just due to a bad translation, we can have a very bad training experience. Here we have just an example. I'm going to stop about when we are talking about blended programs. So here it's a combination, these blocks number from 1 to 9. It's content that it's developed, as we have seen with this methodology, having a video, someone presenting something, okay, for the topic, and those contents can be consumed by the participant on a digital platform. But at the beginning of the program, at mid of the program, and at the end of the program, we add webinars where there will be an instructor that will be leading the session to try to consolidate the learnings that the participants would have done on a digital platform. Okay, this was just an example of what we mean by really combined facilitator lead with digital content. So about the trainers, very important, as we said. Our suggestion is you have to deploy programs across the globe. A key pillar would be to use a local-based trainer with experience in delivering remote learning programs. Because nowadays, it's possible, maybe in some countries, it's mandatory, in others not, for many reasons. It could be for cost savings, it could be for saving time, it could be just because still we have constraints and limitations on mobility. Those people need to be able to deliver remote sessions. So here we suggest always to use local professional trainers, certified through a Train the Trainers program. And we recommend, if possible, to avoid internal trainers, unless those internal trainers are certified and are experienced in delivering soft skills training. Because it's not the same delivering a training about a process or about a product or about a tool, which is just transferring a knowledge, than a training where what we aim is not to transfer a knowledge, but to change habits and change behaviors. Here, the trainer, if using internal trainers, need to be skilled in soft skills training delivery. As we said, participating in translation, best programs can fail due to translation issues, but also involve those trainers in the content customization for the country. We have said at the beginning. Here we said that the content should be customized should be able to be customized by the country. Here is where the local trainer would take an active role in interacting with the local country head, local sales director, to really adapt the content to the country reality. And of course, we said real experience in delivery webinars and remote training programs. And just to finalize, what is important? Normally, big corporates, they have a global learning and development team, and then they have some representative and some regional or country spokes which are driving the training initiatives at local level. So it's very important to decide upfront the roles and responsibility of the global and local teams, who is going to be doing what, and define learning consolidation metrics. So here we are just giving some topics that need to be clear at the time of conceptualizing and define a program. The budget to implement it. So who is going to pay for that? It's going to be global or it's going to be local? Well, if possible, we recommend this to be a global budget, because this makes much or more easy and avoids delays on securing budget at local level. But of course, this is something that needs to be discussed and decided by the organization. Project sponsors, we need some project sponsors at global level that push, communicate, and steer the countries to implement and to realize the importance of it. The trainer selection, who selects the trainer? Okay, in this case, what is logical is going to be local. Who is going to sell the program to the country? Because if the program has been designed at a global level, then you need to go country by country, trying to find which is the right moment, what is going to be the audience, how we are going to organize the groups. And this is something that it's also time consuming. So you need to take care and forecast that you are going to spend resources and time on convincing the countries that, of course, in the country, there is never a good time to deliver a training program. So they need to book some time for it. So you need to sell the program to the country. The content customization, we said, we suggest that this to be done locally. The learning platform, where it should be maybe a combination of global and local, and the Kpi targets follow-up. So what are the metrics? It could be deployment speed. So I want to have 60% of the countries deployed in the next 6 months, or it could be sales growth. So I expect to have a growth in sales in the next 6 months after implementing, or I want to consolidate behaviors changes. These are things that I want to achieve. So we need to set some targets on it. And it needs to be global, because then it can be tracked. How is it progressing on each of the countries? So these are just a summary of the key messages we have been said. So we will share this presentation with all of you, so you will have those messages clear at this stage. So now let's start the third part and the important part of the program, which is the dialogue with, in this case, with Laetitia. So Laetitia, again, thanks for being on this webinar. So I hope that some of the elements I have presented, they sound somehow familiar to you. And what I would like to start maybe is, maybe you can just introduce yourself, your company, because maybe most of the audience might not be familiar about who is UPL, the sector, and in which countries it's present, and what is your role within the company.
Sure. So welcome everyone. My name is Laetitia Fieu. I'm Global Learning and Development for UPL, HR Communication and Culture also. UPL is a solution provider for agriculture. We are providing solution products for farmers, could be herbicide, pesticide, etc., but also biosolutions. We've got a large target on biosolutions actually, because we are really working in the perspective to get sustainable growth for everyone and sustainable agriculture. So we are 5 among the big companies in the market, such as Syngenta, Corteva, BASF, etc. So we are 5 in our business area. And we are first in biosolutions, actually. We just complete our fiscal year with despite this very difficult year and pandemic, with 8% growth in our revenue, and in some areas in the world with double-digit growth, which was completely amazing in India and Latam, especially, but also Europe performed quite well also. So despite this difficult year, the results are there, and we outperform the market, which is incredible. What we've been doing with the global selling, I'm sure, in the past year, was a real support to this, to the teams and to this result, definitely, because it was such a shift in behaviors in the way we were selling, that when the pandemic arrived, we felt a huge need to do something for our sales team, and it's where everything began, really.
Okay. And what at the end has been the scope of this training program? So how many sales reps, countries?
So basically what happened is, when everybody experimented that, when the pandemic arrived, so we suddenly faced a situation where we had teams at home. So the point is, we are present in more than 100 countries. So we had some variation, okay, because the virus wasn't spreading same time everywhere in the world. But suddenly something was very important, for example, for Spain, and the sales team in Spain, they had to stay home. So they didn't know what to do. It was a bit, it was a bit hopeless. They didn't know how to manage the contact with the customer except by phone, but it's much more difficult, of course. And then this aspect of being far from the customer suddenly changed and shifted all the ways of working. And then it's changing from one country to the others. And everybody felt a need for that. So we realized that even if the need was starting very locally, we really think through and try to plan, okay, this is going to happen everywhere. And it's when we started to think, okay, there's a need for a global framework, a global a global training with many things, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, what we put in it. But at the end of the day, we wanted to cover the 2,500 sales people. So that was the target.
That's a big audience, definitely.
Yeah, and multiple languages. We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. And how did all started? So how you plan, let's say, the design of the conceptualization of this program, how you mobilize the different countries to participate on the program from the very beginning?
So it basically, I had some experience of putting a regional program in place already with some countries some years ago, and I had quite a clear view on what was needed in terms of process and design. But I didn't want to do it just in house, because it's very nice to have a sounding board and expert working with you on that. So first thing is I contacted basically two external providers I've been working with in the past. So of course, ActitudPro, and thank you for being with us in this program, because it's been incredibly an amazing experience. And another company who was already tied up with webinars and some content. The big point, the big experience you brought to us, and I was really interested in that, is that really at the very beginning of the pandemic, you already had digital modules. You were already thinking digital. And I think that was the biggest change for our teams, sales teams.
This model that we were talking about before.
Yeah, that was the big change with before, because most of the time they much like the direct contact with the customers, and they don't think digital. And that was one part of the problem, but also finding partners with this solution was really great, and you had a solution in place, so that was good to work on the base of this solution. Yeah.
And what about the involvement on the design of these local teams?
Yeah, so that
How
was,
how you select which countries had to participate?
well, basically, first it was an emergent need from Spain, and the regional head, South Europe, requested a specific program for Spain. And then from this specific design, where we've done a pilot in Spain, we showcase it to the global chief commercial officer, and we explained that the need will be probably in Spain but elsewhere. And so from there we started to structure this topic as a project. So it was structured as a global project, which means we had very strong sponsors. So the chief global commercial officer was a sponsor. We had also the chief innovating officer at the time, who is now our CEO, who was the sponsor, and of course the CHRO, our CHRO Sanjay was also the sponsor. So we had three strong sponsors, and it's very, very important. We wanted, because I'm working in L&D, but I'm not working in sales. So I really wanted to have the reality of the ground and to have a group of experts working with us. So basically, we defined a core team across the globe, made with key salespeople. So key salespeople in Brazil, key salespeople in Latam, in Europe, etc. And we ended up with something like 47 people as the core team. It was a mix of salespeople, but also some supporting people from HR sometimes. And this core team, specifically, the aim was to validate the content we were preparing. So it was a bit like we taking into account what they're saying. We put it in the modules, which we figure out, we try to understand, we put some business cases, and then we send them back so we had the full validation. Part of the methodology was very clear to us. We wanted 70% of the program to be very practical, because the thing is, okay, we wanted a refresh on some concept, okay, CIB methodology, SAD, etc. Very typical sales tools that very well known around the world, actually. We wanted that, but we also wanted to have really tailor-made training where people can refer and understand, okay, on such product, on such case they are facing. So that was a very key point for us. That's why this expert group was really key, came back with the validation and the business case. So it makes everything practical. And that's the way we proceed, in fact.
Okay. And at the time of, let's say, on the design, what were, let's say, the main challenges you realized during designing this program? I mean, the countries, they perceive that this was something that could be then applicable to their reality. Your experience pushback from the countries. What was somehow the reaction of the countries?
I think we faced nearly all the situation. It's normal, because that's one point you said at the very beginning, is each country is different. They're not that much. Okay, the markets are different. The countries, the way to sell, etc., is nearly everywhere the same. Okay, I mean, selling is something, it's an activity very well known by human beings for decades.
Many years.
So yeah, you always have this negotiation part. You always are closing the deal, etc. The big shift was to do all that digitally, and it's where we really need to make it work digitally. So at the time, I think some countries, it was a bit of a surprise coming, when we reach out some countries, and some of them said, no, we are very specific and we need this and we need this. So they really wanted to go into detail. What happened is we took into consideration some things which were very key in terms of business impact. And one of the points very important in this program is the buy-in from the stakeholders. You need to make sure of the buy-in. That's why the group of experts is very important. That's why you need to spend time with the regional heads to take their buy-in on board. And also, one other thing is take first and prioritize on the best impact for the business. So, for example, you were talking about, collection, debt collection or collection. In some countries, this was very key, very, very key. They were struggling with that, and it has a massive impact on their P&L. So we really needed to take this demand on board, and it's what we did. We targeted a module, as you said, really focused on debt collection. This module wasn't there at the very beginning, and it's a progressive approach, okay? And it's I would say it's a open-minded approach, and you need to listen because the fact is none of us knew about this pandemic, how long it was going to last, etc. I'm just trying to go back some month ago, so it was very unknown for everyone. At the same time, we don't know everything. We are sitting at global level, and we need to listen to the people on the ground. So taking into consideration what they were saying, it's also showing flexibility in the approach, and that was very key, I think, for me.
Okay.
If you start a program from global and you just apply it, obviously the output is less.
And connecting with this, let's say, high-level thoughts, which were recommendations from McKinsey about involving the sales leadership team, which they are, let's say, recently disclosed. But when you planned the program 1 year ago, I remember that we, as external partner, we came just with the idea of the remote selling. And I remember, I think it was one of the sponsors, Farouk, who said, no, hey, look, here, the basics are also important, and leadership team needs to be involved.
Yeah, because the point was, when we do such a big program at this scale, you want to take the most of it, of course. And the remote selling was equipping our team with remote selling skills, being able to still perform the business in this pandemic was the first objective. But of course, as you said, the chief commercial officer said, okay, people are also at home. Let's take advantage of that, or they travel less. So let's do this refresh part also on their basic selling. So we've got a complete and full program. So that's where the global level is key, because you can align your key messages, you can align your expectation from the sales manager. And you've been saying that coaching was a really important point in the selling program, which I truly believe. I mean, the coaching from sales manager is a very important point, because we need to make the most of it even after, because of course it's a big investment. And after, it needs to be promoted by the sales manager. So they really need to think of this coaching part. And also because you've got this program which is fully complete: remote selling, refresh, selling skills, so negotiation skills, selling skills, etc. purely. And you've got also the ability to give some alignment on core messages, corporate one. So because I'm also in charge of culture, that was a very important point for us. We've got an open ag purpose, which is creating an agricultural network for the world, feeding sustainable growth for everyone. And we've got 6 values: win-win-win, agile. Agile is part of our values, and you were talking about this factor, agility factor, which is important. So agile, win-win-win, always human, keep it simple, make it fun, one team, one focus, nothing is impossible. The 6 values were also tied in this program somewhere, okay, because we wanted this program to be reflected also our culture. So it was very important to align those key messages, behaviors, expectation, and then go down to the countries.
Okay, so we've got some questions from the audience, which I think is worth we share. I think one question for Laetitia. I think I can project it. Yeah, hold on. Okay, one question: external trainers are local, or you choose a global partner?
So that's a very good question. Both are required in my view. A very simple reason is okay, at the global level, you make a design, which is the framework from everyone. And then when it comes to the implementation, we are facing the situation where, of course, our sales team, they don't speak English everywhere in the world, and we don't ask them to do specifically, okay? What we ask them to do is to be, to be sales team, with their local customer, etc. And then you are facing also a challenge in terms of culture, simply. Background from different countries and different culture. So it's important to have a partner at the global level to have this wider view. And then when it comes to the implementation, you leave the choice. The country head can have the choice of his local partner, which means the language, the training will be provided in the local language. And what we were doing is having a trained trainer between this global provider and the local one. There's a trained trainer. So the local trainer is very, very close to the local needs and market.
Okay, good. Here there is another question from Sergi in this case. How to create a global program that at the same time can be local specific? It's one of the topics we have already mentioned, but maybe you can extend a bit more on what has been the key success factors to make it global and local in the case of UPL.
Yeah, I think the core team you are building at the beginning is essential. If you got in the core team, I was talking about the sales expert, right? The sales expert, the 47 people who were acting with us as, okay, these are the content we are suggesting. These are the exercise we are suggesting. This is the digital module on mental preparation. This is the digital module. We've got 26 modules in all, and everyone with a specific topic. So each of these topics has been validated by this expert. And I think the way you select your sales expert, because they are sit in the region and they are sit in the countries, of course, it's very key in the buying. So you've got this global angle, and they've got a stretch assignment because they are part of this group, but also they've got their local voice, and you count on them to basically to talk and to explain to the local teams the importance of the training. So I think that's a very key point. And also the flexibility of saying, okay, it's made in English, but you will have the choice of your local trainer, and you will have the choice of your some of the exercise you're doing to fit your market precisely, to fit your products precisely. So that was also for me a key success factor.
Okay, very good. Another question. Do you recommend the design the program fully digital, so without facilitator? So in this case that it has been a blended, do you consider this is positive? Of course, it's maybe slower than just fully digital, but at the end, it's worth, on your view, to combine this methodology of digital and facilitated lead training?
I think if you leave it only digital, it's going to be, in my view, there's a need to have someone to orchestrate it. So, of course, the first part is a webinar on the refresh selling skills, negotiation skill. It's a webinar. So they are coming and they got a trainer talking to them and doing all the exercise, etc. And of course, we adapted also to the virtual setup, which is we consider not to have those people 8 hours in front of the computer. It doesn't work. So we adapted the setup with 2 hours session in the morning, in the afternoon, shorter time than it could have been in a room physically. But that's key because this trainer can answer some question and is there to help them on this webinar part, but also is knowing what's in the digital part. And if you leave people just in front of the computer and tell them, okay, you guys, I want you to complete this 10 modules and I will reach back to you in 10 days. It's not going to happen. I mean, most of them will lose track, or most of them will do something else, prioritize on something else, etc.
And this is especially due to the nature of the salespeople, which they tend to be always outside in face of the client. So probably, I think it's a significant difference to other profiles of an organization, which might have more, let's say, a structure on their time frame and their schedule. Sales need to be flexible, react when a customer calls. So it's always difficult. They find time for it. Okay, we've got a few minutes left. So what are you most happy about this program, and what would you could still be improved? It's a very good one. So we have been listening to good words about it, but what you would improve if you can just get back? Would you have changed it or do it from now onwards?
Okay, so what I'm happy about is the testimonial from the people who have been on the program. That's always the big. Okay, I think for us it's always the big rewarding part and recognition. Program is working when the key people in the program, especially sales director, are saying, okay, it was fantastic. So we're very happy about that. What we could improve probably is, I would say, the speed in putting it in place. It's been quite a long process. So I think if I had to go back and correct, I would correct this. This should have been done in a much speed way. Even so, it wasn't bad, but I think the kind of emergency was there and the expectation was very high. I would have liked to do it quicker. So probably this point. Second point is probably more in phases, even if we did it. But I still found today some people who are planning to do it. In some region, it's planned, and in some other region, they are planning to do it in the coming month. I would have expected more dynamic around putting it in place, but that was also linked to the budget side. So what you said at the very beginning about being clear on the budget, that's very important, because I think some countries were not prepared to get this in their budget, and that was one of the point. So maybe a higher discussion to agree on the budget would have been required, even if it's solved and it's all good now and no problem. But this maybe was a point of attention.
Could have generate traction and to make easier the deployment. That's clear. Okay, so I think we have reached the end. I would like to try to finish on time. So first of all, Laetitia, thank you very much for your time, for your very valuable explanations, and I think it's going to be very helpful for to our audience, which is more than 60 people from different countries, from different companies, which probably are facing the same situation as the one of UPL has gone. So thank you very much, Laetitia. And thank you to the audience. You will receive at the end of this webinar an email with a link to the recording of the webinar. So in case you have missed part of the beginning, you can review it again. And also in case you want to share it within your organization, you are completely free of sharing within your teammates. So again, thank you very much to the audience. Thank you very much, Laetitia. And I hope that we are going to be able to see you in next sessions that we will be communicating. For those who have been also participating on other webinars, we are delivering regular webinars, and we are planning to do one on the 17th of June, which we are going to be talking about sales innovation, and in the context of our Sales Innovation Forum that we're doing every year. So in this case, we are going to be facing how the innovation has been impacted in the sales arena with COVID and what is next from the next for the next 12 months. Thank you very much to all. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.